All right, awesome. We got it recorded. So let's jump in. So this is the selling your value to hiring managers resume workshop. I appreciate you guys answering the poll questions. We had one participant answer that they feel like their resume is a 1, which it's not showing their value at all, that they have so much to offer. We also had one participant say that they feel like their resume is a 4, which is great. That's awesome. Hopefully we get it to a 5. The goal is to get everybody feeling like their resume is a 5, that it differentiates you, that when you look at it, you feel great. You feel proud of your work history and what you've brought to your job. Again, just thank you for showing up. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for answering that question. Thank you for seeking help. I think that's the biggest opportunity for people who are looking to excel in their careers. I did not excel in my career until I realized that I didn't know what I didn't know, and I needed to get a coach. I needed to reach out to my mentors and really elevate my story. So you guys are a step ahead of the competition by even taking a course like this, because again, you don't know what you don't know, and hopefully you leave here feeling more empowered and you get your resume to a place where it's showcasing more value. So just a little bit about me. I am a Fortune 500 creative director currently at Salesforce. I've been there for about 3 years. Prior to that, I was at an agency called Outcreate, where I worked with companies like Hershey, Mondelez, Google, Gilead, Ferrero, a lot of financial institutions as well. Before that, I was at Apple for almost 14 years, doing every type of training, presentation, marketing. So I've done a lot of cool stuff for a lot of great companies, have a lot of amazing clients. But the reality is I struggled getting there. There would be times where I would send out resumes and I would hear nothing back, completely ghosted, or I would do interviews for days at some of these companies, and again, zero feedback. And that's what I really want to be for professionals, especially in this job market, is just a source of feedback. I've hired at Salesforce 6 or 7 roles, and I kept seeing the same opportunities in resumes, in interviews, where it all comes down to storytelling. And we'll talk about that, where people cannot tell their story clearly. And that's what I want to help people do. As a coach, I also started the Standout Squad, which is my Facebook community, as well as there's a community on my website where you get access to the replays for these workshops. There are member exclusive workshops and courses. There's a course there called Shifting Your Mindset for the Job Search, which really just helps my clients become more resilient in the job search. So there is going to be a rejection. The job market is broken. So how can we change our mindset to what our goals are to make sure that, yes, we get a job, but we don't feel like the rejection is changing how we feel about ourselves. So definitely I'll share that link actually in the chat now. So if you guys do want to sign up, I have that, and I'll share it at the end as well. Go back into the chat. And it's free. There are some paid tiers, but honestly, they're not set up fully yet. So definitely just join the free stuff. And as I elevate that community, I'll let you guys know if it's worth paying for. But yeah, and also just to get people off of LinkedIn when it comes to talking about career, because it's just an echo chamber where hopeless people are saying, why are we not getting a chance? And I'd rather give you guys a space to support each other and feel a little more hopeful about where you are in your careers. So, and also you can follow me on social. I'll share that chat too. So I'm almost everywhere right now. You can follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. You guys feel like you need to get those tips, tricks, affirmations, So yeah, and my name's Adam. I probably should have said that at the beginning. My name's Adam. And yeah, I'm a Fortune 500 director and career coach. But let's actually jump in to content as much as I love chatting about myself. Well, I do want to talk about some success. So uh, here's just some client success. So if you guys feel like you want to dive in deeper, I've worked one-on-one with these clients to get them to elevate their resumes or prepare for interviews, and they've landed roles. They landed their dream jobs. Tosin is currently creative directing. Dr. Heather's landed a role in academia, and Sunny has had contracts at companies like Salesforce. So really, really cool stuff. All right, so let's again dive into content. So we're going to talk about the resume and why it's important. It's not just your job history, and we'll go deeper into that. I really do want to talk about the post-pandemic job market, which I call the age of operating margin, because it shifted how we tell stories and what we should include on our resumes. And if you guys take my interview workshop, I go over how it changes how we talk about ourselves in interviews. We'll talk about having a strong summary at the beginning of your resume, how you should leverage testimonials on your resume as well to help sell yourself. We'll talk about the job history. I don't have time to talk about the skills section and why I think it's important. Uh, that's one of the reasons I want you guys to download that free guide. So definitely join the Standout Squad. There's a whole section in there for organizing your skills and what skills you should showcase on your resume. And we'll talk a little bit about AI, some of the positive and negatives of using AI to work on your resume. So, what is a resume and why is it important? So, I wanted to actually understand what the dictionary described a resume as, and it's a brief account of a person's education, qualifications, and previous experience, typically set with a job application. And the more I thought about the modern job market or the modern resume, the fact that this even leads with a person's education is a joke. No one, the education is the last thing a hiring manager is going to look at. So I rewrote the definition. It's a concise and compelling sales and marketing tool targeting recruiters and hiring managers. And we're going to be very focused on that today. Presenting a brief account of a person's professional experience by highlighting their qualifications through demonstrated growth, skilled behavior, and celebrated results. It is a marketing tool. That's really what I want to highlight here is that your resume is not just a list of responsibilities. It is something that has to be targeted towards how recruiters and hiring managers think. And because I've been hiring almost nonstop for 3 years, I have a lot to say about this. Resumes need to make my life easier as a hiring manager. I don't want to be doing a guessing game. I don't want to be having to do extra research on you. Your resume needs to tell your story concisely um, and not be hard for me to follow. And we'll talk about that. You need to craft a value proposition with this resume too. So you need to be able to uh, show up and explain why I should even read this resume. We'll dive deep into that. You have to have compelling content and skills and results. We'll talk about job bullets. It needs to be structured in a way that tells a story. So again, you're presenting yourself, so it needs to be clear, presented clearly. And then this is something that we're going to dive into really deep. I mentioned testimonials, but it needs to show social proof. And this is a huge way to differentiate yourself. And obviously, why is a resume important? I mean, this is your opportunity to share your story quick. It's your first impression. It is your first opportunity to differentiate yourself. I think a lot of people feel like in the past that, oh, my resume will get me the interview and then I'll be able to tell my story in an interview. And that is not the case. You really need to differentiate yourself as early as possible. I mean, you have the option to send a cover letter with your job applications, but most places don't require it. And then also like writing a cover letter for each job you're applying to, that's a lot of work. So why not just celebrate yourself on your resume? So yeah, it's the new cover letter. Let's talk about how you guys are probably feeling, which is like this poor woman on the computer in the job market. So again, I call this the age of operating margin. So where are we post pandemic? This is from May alone. So these don't even reference Microsoft's layoffs from July. But just thinking about this picture, if we go back to the pandemic, companies were looking at remote work as an opportunity to grab amazing talent basically for cheap. Because if you can get remote work in other markets in smaller cities, you don't spend as much. So they were focused on growth and growth alone. They were just like, let's hire as many people as we can. Then what happened is in 2022, there was a course correction because investors and analysts came back and said, no, we don't care about growth. We care about something called operating margin. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, that's basically just how a company is efficient. So is the revenue and the profit that they're making reflective of the amount of staff and other things they put into their company? So now you're seeing every 6 months, if not more, companies are restructuring or they're looking at redundancies. And I mean this again, Microsoft laid off 7,000 people in May. They had a huge layoff in July. That's only a few months, which is crazy to me. So if we look at the rest, again, this is all in May, like all these companies were uh restructuring or laying off people. So I don't say this to discourage you. The job market is saturated. It's oversaturated. Why I bring this up is because what does operating margin mean to us as candidates when we're applying to jobs? It means you need to show that you are efficient in what you do. And what that really means is we need to show some sort of understanding of operations on our resume. And this is different. This is different. And I'm going to use designers because that's my background. I'm going to use graphic design as an example. As a junior graphic designer and as a senior graphic designer, your resume 5 years ago would have said everything from I used Photoshop to create award-winning work, or I used this tool to create this type of work, and it would just be focused on your hard skills, basically your hard skills in designing and the type of tools you use. Now it's shifted so that you have to include operations, which originally you wouldn't have to do it unless you reached manager level or director level. So this requires a shift. So when I say operations, I mean, have you ever come up with a process or a strategy or system to make your work life easier or to make the business easier or to make your team's life easier or made more money? So an example of this would be for a graphic designer would be that they started recording their Photoshop edit process. That way they had a system that they could give to other designers in the company to improve the speed of Photoshop edits, for example. Like that would be something that would differentiate them from other graphic designers because most graphic designers are not going to have that type of bullet on your resume. So you have to think of how you've improved your jobs and made impact from a systematic perspective. And I'm not saying every bullet has to be like this, but you do want to showcase that somewhere in your resume. Does anyone have any questions? You could save them for the end. You could put them in the chat. Does that make sense? You guys could also just give me a thumbs up if that's clear, like why it's important to show. Basically, you're trying to showcase to a recruiter and a hiring manager that you are not redundant, that you bring strategic thinking to what you're going to do at that job. Does that make sense? Great. Let's jump into the actual strong professional summary. So at the top of your resume, you're obviously going to have your name, you'll have your phone number, your email. If you're a designer, you'll have your link to your portfolio. Maybe you'll have a link to your LinkedIn. Um, Under that, you should have like a headline that basically describes who you are. So for me, it would be something like um, results-driven creative director, storyteller, brand strategist, something like that. Something that highlights my 20 years worth of experience. And then you're going to have a strong professional summary. And if you're putting an objective on your resume, please do not put an objective on your resume. That is old. That is not helpful. Obviously, you want to get a job. Obviously, you want to make money. That is the objective of your resume. What you need to put there is a summary of why I should continue reading. So it should describe you as I say creative professional, but like it should describe you as a professional, the types of things that you do. It should describe you as a team collaborator or something that you're passionate about in when you work. And it should describe how you've worked in the industry. So if you can highlight different companies that you've worked for or different roles that you've had and the impact that you've made in those roles. So this is, again, you're trying to make my life as a hiring manager easier. I want this to basically say, hey, this is what I've been doing for this many years. This is what I am super skilled at or passionate about. And this is something unique I might bring to the table. So that's your professional summary. So I want to give you guys an example. So again, let's go back to the graphic designer example. So an innovative graphic designer with 5 years of experience working with top brands like Nike, Mattel, Williams-Sonoma. Highly knowledgeable in content creation using Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and other Adobe creative software to deliver custom creative assets. Experience in collaborating with SVP stakeholders to produce award-winning design solutions. So this is a paragraph that's meant to help me as a hiring manager, not first off, I don't want to have to like go through your resume and be like, okay, they worked here for 3 years, they worked here for 5 years, they worked here for 2 years, and add that up. That's dumb. So if you guys can tell me like, hey, I've been doing this for so and so amount of years with these types of companies or these types of, and again, you don't need like Nike, Mattel, Williams-Sonoma. That's just the example I used. You could just say at top local restaurants or at top hotels or whatever the case may be, top law firms. You don't need to actually name drop. So you want to give an idea of like, this is how long I've been doing this and where I've been doing this. Then you want to share the skill set that you have. You know, I'm highly knowledgeable doing A, B, and C, and I'm super passionate about doing 1, 2, and 3. And then I would say you either share the team sizes that you've worked with, or you could say something like their global teams, but then you've also the type of stakeholders that you have. I've worked with restaurant managers, or I've worked with finance managers, or I've worked with SVPs to help do amazing customer service, something like that at the end. So this just gives the hiring manager insight of what your skill set is, how long you've been doing it, and how you've made impact. And again, you're collaborating or working with others to do that because none of us work in a vacuum. So after your professional summary, I would say put a testimonial because when you think about the psychology of marketing, again, this is a marketing document that you're creating. You're basically have this professional summary that is you, written by you. This is how amazing I am, written by me. But when you think about how shopping works, and this also is parallel to hiring, and I use this example. I just had a newborn a week ago, and It's been about 6 years since I've had to shop for anything related to babies. So stroller, changing table, mattress. Yes, SVP means senior vice president. Yeah, yeah, it's just an abbreviation. Good question, Tyler. Um, so I'm buying all this baby stuff. I'm not just going to go out randomly and buy baby stuff. That's not how it works. I'm going to go to TikTok and I'm going to look at reviews. I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm going to look at reviews. I'm going to go to Amazon. I'm going to read reviews. The way that we make decisions in the way that we purchase, the way that hiring managers hire, is that we want to make sure we are researching this decision. So that's going to be the same for resumes. So if you can get a testimonial from a colleague or preferably a manager or a client under your professional summary that backs up your professional summary, that is going to differentiate you first off because no one puts testimonials on their resume. So I would say 1 out of every 99 resume that I look at has a testimonial. That is going to be a huge differentiator. But again, think about the psychology. I read your professional summary, you tell me all these awesome things, and then I read a quote from someone that basically backs that up. That is amazing. That is a great way to sell yourself. So that's why it matters. That's why social proof matters. It's called social proof. And if you guys can get testimonials on your LinkedIn, or if you have testimonials from your LinkedIn, you could probably just copy and paste them on your resume. But how do you get these testimonials? This is what I would send to a colleague, a manager, a boss, a client. Can you describe a specific incident where I made a significant contribution to a project or team success? What are 3 qualities or skills you think that I bring to the team that are particularly valuable? How did my work make a difference to the team, department, or company goals? Is there a challenge or situation where you felt I excelled and delivered exceptional results? What words would you use to describe my work ethic, collaboration style, overall impact? So instead of requesting a testimonial, I send these questions out, and then you can use, sorry, let's jump ahead. I should have another slide here. I use ChatGPT to basically say, using these questions, give me 3 options for a 3 to 5 sentence testimonial to put on my resume. And then I rewrite that and send it back to my boss or my colleague and say, hey, does this sound like a good testimonial to use? And as long as you get their approval, stick it on your resume. So I'd rather do that, have them answer these 5 questions because it should be fairly easy for them instead of them thinking on how to write out a testimonial, and then I'll create the testimonial for them and then get their sign off. So this is again a great way to differentiate yourself. I do not see testimonials on enough resumes. I think it's a super solid way to sell yourself because again, this is how we make decisions. We don't blindly go out and make an expensive purchase, and we don't blindly go out as a hiring manager. We don't blindly go out and just hire someone. Any way you can help the hiring manager believe your story and see your value, this is a great way to do it. Okay. Let's talk about our bullets. Again, I have to skip the skills section because I just don't have enough time in this workshop. What I will say about your skills. So after the testimonial, you should have your expertise, your areas of expertise, or your skills. I would keep it to about 12 skills. I would not go over that. I've seen people put like 20, 30. That's too many. You're overselling yourself. No one's going to believe that you're skilled in that many things. And use your skills section to swap out keywords that you see on job description. So that's a good opportunity. Again, you must, as long as you have skills in those things. So if they say Asana and you add Asana to your skills section, you better be skilled in Asana. That's all I'm going to say about that. Again, if you guys download the free guide in the standout squad, I have a whole section on the skills section. But I really want to talk about job bullets. So you do not want to list just responsibilities. This is going to kill your chances at getting seen. You'll probably get auto rejected. or a recruiter is going to look at it and say, this doesn't tell me enough about the candidate. The thing is, when you list generic things about what you do in your role, like for a graphic designer, something like um, worked on or designed multiple websites. Let's say that was the bullet. That doesn't give enough context because any graphic designer is gonna have that skill set. You have to show the value that you've brought or and the impact that you've made. So you want to actually share results with quantitative data, and then I say with and context. So there was a shift, maybe it was about 5 to 10 years ago, where people did start sharing results on their resume. So they would say things like, instead of designed um, websites, they would say something like designed 15 websites, increasing traffic by 150% on average, something like that. So you have like quantitative data there saying how many websites you've worked on and the quantitative data of increasing the traffic on them. So you have these two solid pieces of quantitative data. And that, again, 5, 10 years ago would help differentiate you from someone who did share or did just showcase generic responsibilities. But now we need even more context. Again, we're moving away from cover letters where they're just not required anymore. So how do you share more of that story? So let's look at some examples. So this would be some generic bullets. This would be generic bullets for me, actually, as a creative director. Um, Directed high-profile creative projects, including keynotes and executive presentations for global events, increased presentation viewership by 10%, developed presentation materials and templates to help employees create consistent and professional decks, provided basic training resources to improve presentation skills and ensure alignment with company standards. All of these things are true about me. All of them. But they do not show the breadth and impact that I've made at this tech company that's one of the top tech companies in the industry. I need to showcase more context and more powerful data here to differentiate myself from all the other creative directors out there. I mean, it is a saturated market, so I need to showcase how I've made an impact to my team or to the business or to clients. And I wouldn't be showcasing clients here. So it would be more, how have I impacted the business? How have I impacted the team? So let's take this directed high profile creative projects, for example. How can I show more content here or more data here? So instead, I would just turn this into a key win. I successfully delegated and designed the main keynote presentation for Dreamforce 2022, and I've since done 2023, 2024. I could add that if I wanted to, but I would say I'm going to do a key win like this one for 2022. This is a major conference in the tech industry. I produced an ultra wide screen presentation that involved the brand to introduce innovative AI solutions. And then some context that I put is by working across multiple global teams and agencies, and I could even elevate this more. I could say 10 global teams and agencies to bring a cohesive feel to the entire deck that has been viewed on YouTube over 2.7 million times. So that's one of the results that I could share. And I'm not saying everyone needs this type of quantitative data. I'm not going to say like everything that you've done, you've worked with 10 global teams or you've worked on your stuff has been viewed on YouTube 2.7 million times. But the data that is shared, you could say even like increased customer retention by 5% or increased customer satisfaction via surveys by 2%. Any increase is good and worth sharing. So don't feel like you need, again, these crazy clients or these crazy numbers. Any improvement that you could share and percentage you could share or timeline you could share makes these more tangible, makes them more real, differentiates you from those generic responsibilities. So how do you get bullets like this? How do you share stories in this capacity? Are any of you guys familiar with something called the STAR method? You can give me a thumbs up. That's for interview storytelling. If you guys have prepared for interviews, we'll review it now. So this is how you tell stories for interviews. You share a situation, you describe the task that you were given in that situation, the actions that you took, and then the results of the actions that you took. So this framework is a great way to answer interview questions, but this is also a great way to share stories on your resume. It just needs to be even more condensed. So here's a situation from my freelance days. McCann Health was hosting an employee town hall for the New York office in 2 days and didn't have a presentation deck for their speakers. So I was tasked as a freelance senior designer to gather all the content and assets and then build the deck using PowerPoint. So I worked with the senior project manager and SVPs to gather messaging content, develop the story for the deck. I then went to the McCann Health website to understand their current brand, and then applied that same look and feel to a template that aligns with that brand. And I partnered with internal and external partners to gather all the necessary assets, photos, icons, and more. And the result was that the SVPs were amazed because I did this in 2 days self-sufficiently. I turned around this 30-slide deck that aligns to their brand look. They presented in front of 600 employees, successfully communicating new policies and procedures and celebrated employee promotions. And they were so happy that the result was that they kept me on as a freelance employee for the next 12 months. So this is way too long to put on a bullet, like a job bullet. So you can use something like ChatGPT. You could try to condense it yourself. I like using AI. And we'll talk a little bit more about the benefits of AI. But I like throwing it into AI and say, using this STAR method story. So you would give it the whole story, the situation, the task, the action, the result. Create 3 options for bullets for my job, for this job on my resume. Include the quantitative data and some context. And I think that's important because if you don't say that, it's probably just going to highlight the result. Like I said, like 10 years ago, and say something like, in less than 48 hours, created a 30-slide PowerPoint deck and was, yeah, that's actually probably all it would say if I didn't say include more context. So it would, this is a stronger bullet. Sorry, let's go back to that. So in less than 48 hours, I designed a 30-slide PowerPoint deck for the McCann Health Employee Town Hall. I collaborated with multiple executives, developed the story, designed the deck, and delivered a show for 600 employees. And they were so impressed, they extended my contract. So this is now a bullet. I took these 4 pieces of the framework, turned them into a job bullet. Here's the thing. This is going to make your resume longer. Obviously, having a paragraph in a bullet, 2 to 3 sentences, is going to make your resume longer. So this is what I suggest. 3 to 4 bullets per job, and it's okay to go over 1 page. If anyone is telling you to make your resume 1 page, it's absolute bullshit. I feel comfortable saying that, even though I'm going to have this on the internet. It's going to be shared as a recap. The 1-page resume is a myth. I have never been stopped from reading a resume. That's because it's been more than 1 page. Now, if you go over 3 pages, that's too much because again, when you're marketing this towards a hiring manager and recruiter who are looking at hundreds of resumes a day. So think about it this way. If you're still within your first 5 years of your job, your career, yeah, 1 page makes sense. Maybe 1.5. If you're 5 to 10, 5 to 15 years, 2 pages, maybe 2.5. If you're 20 years into your career, 3 pages is fine. You're showcasing the breadth of what you can do and the impact that you've made. But don't feel like you're stuck at 1 page. That is a myth. Especially if you're telling your story in a concise way, like we're doing, or in a powerful way, like you're doing here with this framework, where we have this amazing professional summary, we have a testimonial, we have our skills. This is storytelling, the order that we put stuff on there. So when you get to your bullets, you're just backing up what you said in your summary. Um, so use the STAR method to create your job bullets. I would say 3 to 4 bullets. 2 bullets is fine too. Like if you have a lot of jobs that you're trying to show, you could have like your earlier in your career, you can have like 2 bullets per job, and then later in your career, you want at least 3 or to 4 bullets. Let's quickly talk about the positives and negatives of generative AI. Yeah, sorry, I don't have an actual slide on this, so let's just chat about it. If you guys have used AI, or if you're not 100% familiar with it, the way that AI works, ChatGPT, Gemini, that they are only as good as the data that they're trained on or supplied. So you can give them data too. So that's one thing. They do hallucinate, so you have to be careful about that. You don't want them making up content for your resume. That's not true. So anything that you do with AI for your resume, and I've given you some prompts here, but actually the guide, that if you download the free guide from the Standout Squad, that will have prompts throughout that you can use in something like ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you may use. In those prompts, I always say, give me at least 3 options, or give me multiple options. The reason for that is you want to compare the options that it gives and then rewrite that whatever options you prefer. You can cut pieces from each, but you basically want to rewrite it in your own words. And then that's how you should use AI on your resume. You never want to just cut and paste what AI is saying, because first off, it may not sound like you. It may come across as um, clearly being AI, because AI uses hidden characters, so that might get flagged in like ATS systems and stuff. But I'm not saying don't use AI, because I don't think that's realistic. Everyone should use AI. It's amazing. Just triple check what it's outputting and rewrite it in your words and make sure that it's true. Um, what questions do you guys have based off the information that I've given today, or any section of your resume? Anything specific you are struggling with that you want me to dive deeper into? I'll show you guys the guide. Um, and then if you guys hang around in 10 minutes, I'm doing an interview workshop. If you want any help in that. Let me show you guys the guide so you can kind of see what's in there. So in this guide, you have some mindset worksheets, some value worksheets, kind of set you up for success in the job search. But what I really like in this guide, which is crazy because I made it, but what I really like is it dives deeper into everything we talked about today. But with the STAR method specifically, I've included these prompts basically because you might not remember everything you've done across your career. So there's a ton of questions in here that are like, tell me about a time, describe a situation, for different categories like job performance, your ability to learn new technology, your new processes, time management. And these will help you not only prepare for interviews, because these are just interview questions, this will help you decide what bullets you should be including on your resume. And then it gives you the ability, again, you have some prompts throughout that are highlighted that will just say AI. You can basically dump your star method story into ChatGPT, and it will give you a prompt here that you can add to that to get these bullets for your resume. If you guys are designers or you are creative, don't design your resume. It is not worth it. ATS systems, AI will not read resumes properly like this example. Don't use columns. Just use a standard traditional ATS friendly resume. I have one on my website. It's free if you guys want to download a template. But yeah, so I would definitely recommend joining the squad, getting that guide. Oh yeah, no, Tyler, totally. That's cool. You can definitely be here for both. They're free. Come to all the workshops. Come to them again. It's fine. Um, no harm in being here early. Um, let me just jump back into my presentation. So, uh, let's do a quick recap. Your resume is a marketing tool. It is not just a job history. You are targeting hiring managers and recruiters. So you want to make sure your story is concise, it's clear, and it's in the right order to make their lives easier. Again, as a hiring manager, there's nothing more frustrating than a resume that is hard to read, hard to follow, doesn't showcase value. Again, I'm looking at hundreds of these things a day. The easier it is to follow your story and learn about you, especially like with a professional summary at the top, the more likely I am going to see your value and read the entire resume. Um, your professional summary, it captures your experience. You have a testimonial below that showcases social proof. You use the STAR method to showcase your growth in your in your job bullets, and as well that prepares you for interviews. And as much as AI is amazing, just make sure you're triple checking it. Next steps, guys. Let me just add this to the chat. You can join the squad. That's free. There's a Facebook group. You can reach out to me there as well. If you want to set up a free 45-minute call with me, we could also strategize. I do discovery calls. And then if we need more time, there are coaching packages that I offer completely one-on-one. Usually if we're just working on a resume, it would be 2 sessions. But if you want to do like a full package where we like do a value sort and we really understand where your career is going and where we're transitioning from one industry to another, we'll do like 4 sessions. And then if we need to do interviews as well, we'll do 6 sessions. So let me give you all these links. You guys have it in the chat. But again, the squad is free. Just join the squad, download the guide. You get a coupon code for the resume guide. You'll get a coupon code for the interview guide. You can download those. All these recaps I try to put on the or the replay, these workshop replays, I try to put on the squad too. That way, if people weren't able to make the workshop, they can view it there. There are going to be more workshops coming just for career development outside of like job searching. So if you guys want to know how to like work on a team better with using something called fearless feedback, there's going to be more workshops like that too. So definitely sign up for the squad. Let's connect on a discovery call if you want to get really strategic about your job search or your career. And then yeah, I have some one-on-one stuff. We're going to start the interview workshop in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to stop recording this resume one. I'm going to put up the reel for the pre-show reel for the interview workshop. So I appreciate everyone being here for the resume one. Stick around for the interview one. Thanks, everybody. I will be back shortly.